My child, listen carefully. You have been praying for open doors, crying out for breakthrough, asking me why things feel delayed, why opportunities disappear, why your spirit feels trapped between promise and pain. And today, I need you to hear this clearly. You are not abandoned. You are not forgotten. But you are blocked here unless you act. There are seasons when heaven comforts you, and there are seasons when heaven confronts you. This is that season, because I will not allow you to stay comfortable in the place that is slowly destroying your purpose. You keep asking me to move mountains while refusing to take the first step. You keep asking for healing while feeding the habits that poison your spirit. You keep asking for change while protecting the chains that keep you bound. And I say unto you today, enough. The delay is not because I lack power. The blockage is not because I stopped loving you. The resistance exists because there are things you cannot carry into your next season. There are attitudes that must break. There are distractions that must die. There are relationships that must be released. There are fears that must be confronted, because where I am taking you, excuses cannot survive. Hear me. You cannot pray for elevation while living in constant compromise. You cannot ask for destiny while ignoring discipline. You cannot ask me for more while refusing to steward what you already have. My child, the enemy has convinced you that waiting is the same as preparation. But some of you are not waiting on God anymore. God is waiting on you to forgive, waiting on you to obey, waiting on you to leave what I told you to leave, waiting on you to rise from the pit of self-pity and finally walk in faith. Do you not understand? The blockage is a mercy, because if I allowed certain doors to open before your spirit matured, the very blessing you prayed for would crush you. Some of you are angry because opportunities disappeared, but I removed them because they were distractions, dressed like destiny. Some people left your life not because you failed, but because they could not follow where I am leading you. Stop mourning what I disconnected. What I remove, I replace with purpose. And today, I am calling you higher, higher than fear, higher than addiction, higher than laziness, higher than the voices that keep telling you that you are too broken, too old, too weak, too late. The devil is terrified of what happens when you finally move, because heaven has already placed something powerful inside of you. There is a calling on your life. There is oil on your spirit. There is purpose buried beneath your pain, but purpose demands action. Noah had to build. Moses had to confront Pharaoh. David had to face Goliath. Peter had to step out of the boat. Faith has never been passive. And some of you keep asking for miracles while refusing movement. But I say unto you, move anyway, pray anyway, trust anyway, forgive anyway, stand anyway, even if your voice shakes, even if nobody supports you, even if the path feels uncertain, because obedience unlocks what fear keeps delaying. My child, there are blessings attached to the version of you that finally obeys me completely. Not halfway, not emotionally. not only when it feels comfortable, completely. I know you are tired. I know you've cried in silence. I know you've battled thoughts nobody else understands. But do not confuse weariness with defeat. You are closer than you think. The pressure you feel is not proof that I left you. It is proof that transformation is happening. Diamonds are formed under pressure. Warriors are built through fire. And I am shaping you in this season. But you must act. You must stop returning to the places I delivered you from. You must stop shrinking to fit environments I called you out of. You must stop doubting the authority I placed within you. This is your wake-up call. The cycle breaks when you act. The healing begins when you act. The freedom comes when you act. The breakthrough appears when you act in faith. Not tomorrow, not someday, now. Because there comes a moment when God says, I have already given you the instruction. Why are you still standing still? My child, I did not create you to live trapped in fear and hesitation. You were born for impact. You were born for purpose. You were born to carry light into dark places. But you cannot step into your next chapter while clinging to your old identity. Release it. Release the bitterness. Release the shame. Release the excuses. Release the version of yourself that no longer aligns with where I am taking you. And hear me clearly. The door is not locked forever, but you cannot stay where you are and expect to enter what I prepared for you. Action is required. This is the hour to rise. This is the hour to pray with authority. This is the hour to stop playing small. This is the hour to walk like someone chosen by God. Because you are chosen, not because you are perfect, but because my grace is sufficient. So dry your tears, lift your head, strengthen your spirit, and move. Move toward healing, move toward obedience, move toward purpose, move toward the calling I placed upon your life. And when fear whispers that you are unqualified, remember this. I do not call the qualified. I qualify the called. My child, listen carefully to what I am about to place upon your spirit today, because this message is not accidental. You have been asking me why certain things refuse to move in your life. You have cried in private, questioned your worth, and wondered why doors keep closing in front of you, no matter how hard you pray. But I am speaking clearly to you now. You are blocked here unless you act. This is not punishment. This is not rejection. This is me refusing to allow you to remain in a place that is beneath the calling I placed upon your life. You keep asking me for change while holding tightly to the habits that keep you bound. You ask for peace, but continue feeding anxiety with fear and doubt. You ask for breakthrough, yet refuse to move when I give you instruction. I have been calling you higher for a long time, but every time conviction touches your heart, you retreat back into comfort, because comfort feels safer than transformation. Yet comfort has become the prison, keeping you from your next season. I did not create you to live stuck in cycles that drain your spirit. I did not design your destiny around fear, hesitation, and excuses. There is greatness buried inside of you, but greatness cannot emerge while you continue ignoring the voice that has been warning you to rise. Some of the frustration you feel is coming from the battle between who you are now and who I called you to become. Your spirit knows you cannot stay here any longer. You have mistaken delay for denial, but many of the closed doors in your life were acts of mercy. I blocked certain relationships because they were destroying your focus. I blocked certain opportunities because they would have led you away from purpose. I blocked certain paths because your spirit was not prepared for what was waiting there. You cried over what left your life without realizing I was protecting you from battles you could not yet see. There are moments when I comfort you, and there are moments when I confront you. This is a moment of confrontation, because you cannot continue praying for elevation while refusing discipline. You cannot ask for freedom while entertaining the chains that keep dragging you backward. You cannot step into destiny while refusing to release the version of yourself that keeps choosing fear over faith. The enemy wants you frozen in hesitation, because hesitation delays obedience. Every day you remain stuck in fear. You postpone the breakthrough connected to your next step. Every moment you doubt yourself, you resist the very transformation I am trying to produce within you. I have already placed the strength inside of you to move forward, but you keep waiting for certainty instead of trusting my voice. You say you are waiting on me, but many times I am waiting on you, waiting for you to obey, waiting for you to trust me enough to move, waiting for you to stop returning to the same darkness that I already delivered you from. The blockage in your life is not always the enemy attacking you. Sometimes the blockage is my hand preventing you from settling in a place that no longer matches your calling, my child. There are things you have called delays that were actually my protection surrounding your life. You became discouraged because doors would not open. Opportunities slipped away, and plans you carefully built suddenly collapsed in front of you. In your pain, you questioned whether I had forgotten you. But I need you to understand that not every closed door is rejection, and not every delay is abandonment. Sometimes I allow waiting seasons because your spirit is not yet prepared for the weight of the blessing you are asking me to release. You keep focusing on what you lost, while I keep trying to show you what I preserved. If I had allowed certain people to remain in your life, they would have drained your purpose. If I had allowed certain opportunities to succeed, they would have distracted you from your assignment. If I had opened every door the moment you demanded it, you would have walked into battles without wisdom, influence without maturity, and blessings without discipline. You see delay as suffering, but heaven often sees delay as preparation. There are lessons that can only be learned in hidden seasons. There is strength that only develops through pressure. There is wisdom that only comes through waiting. You want immediate answers, immediate healing, immediate success. But many times I work slowly, because I care more about who you are becoming than how quickly you arrive. You have asked me to increase your influence, Yet I am still teaching you humility. You have prayed for abundance, yet I am still teaching you stewardship. You have asked for deeper purpose, yet I am still teaching you obedience in private places where nobody applauds you. The process feels uncomfortable, because transformation always requires the death of old patterns, old thinking, and old desires that cannot follow you into your next season. Some of the delays in your life were created because you kept ignoring my warnings. I spoke to your spirit repeatedly, but you continued choosing what felt familiar instead of what was holy. You held on to toxic attachments because loneliness frightened you. You returned to environments that weakened your spirit because change felt uncertain. And still, my mercy kept blocking paths that would have destroyed you completely. There are moments when you become frustrated because others seem to move ahead while you remain waiting. But you cannot compare your journey to theirs. What I am building in you requires deeper foundations. A structure built quickly, without strength beneath it, will eventually collapse under pressure. I am not interested in giving you temporary success that destroys your soul. I am shaping endurance inside of you, so that when the blessing arrives, you will have the wisdom to carry it without losing yourself. The enemy wants you to interpret delay as failure. He wants you exhausted, impatient, and tempted to abandon the process. He whispers that nothing is changing, that your prayers are pointless, that your season will never shift. But even in silence, I am working behind doors you cannot yet see. Every waiting season contains unseen preparation. Every closed door contains hidden protection. Every disappointment carries the potential to redirect you towards something greater than what you originally desired. You keep asking why the path feels blocked, but many times the blockage exists because I love you too much to allow you to destroy yourself with blessings. You are not yet ready to carry my child. One of the greatest dangers to your destiny is not always failure, pain, or opposition. Sometimes the greatest danger is comfort. Comfort can slowly convince you to settle in places where your spirit is no longer growing. It can make you accept cycles that drain your strength, relationships that weaken your purpose, and routines that keep you spiritually asleep. What once felt safe has now become the very thing preventing you from stepping into the life I created for you. You keep praying for transformation while protecting the habits that keep you stagnant. You ask me for a new season, but resist every uncomfortable step required to enter it. You want freedom, but continue returning to environments that feed fear, insecurity, and compromise. Deep inside, your spirit already knows you were meant for more. Yet fear keeps whispering that change is too risky, too painful, or too uncertain. Fear has kept many of my children trapped in places they have outgrown. Fear tells you to remain silent when I called you to speak. Fear tells you to stay hidden when I called you to rise. Fear convinces you that failure is greater than my power. It magnifies your weaknesses until you forget the authority I placed within you. And slowly, without realizing it, fear becomes a prison that shapes your decisions, controls your faith, and limits your obedience, the enemy understands something that you often forget. If he can keep you comfortable, he can keep you inactive. If he can keep you distracted, he can delay your calling. He knows that a person who never moves in faith will never fully discover the power I placed inside them. That is why he attacks your confidence, your focus, and your willingness to trust me completely. Some of you have remained in the same spiritual condition for years because comfort became more appealing than growth. You learned how to survive in pain instead of confronting what needed healing. You learned how to function in brokenness instead of allowing me to restore your spirit. You learned how to hide behind excuses instead of facing the truth that your next season requires change. There are things I have been asking you to release for a long time. Certain mindsets, certain conversations, certain patterns, certain people. But every time conviction touches your heart, fear convinces you that letting go will leave you empty. Yet, what you fail to understand is that many of the things you are clinging to are the very weights slowing your progress. You cannot carry old chains into new seasons. You cannot hold on to bitterness while asking for peace. You cannot remain spiritually asleep while praying for greater purpose. Stagnation begins the moment you become satisfied with remaining the same, while heaven is calling you higher. I did not create you to spend your life trapped in hesitation. I called you to move with faith, even when the path feels uncertain. The growth you seek exists beyond the comfort you keep protecting. The healing you desire exists beyond the fear you keep entertaining. The breakthrough you pray for exists beyond the excuses that keep delaying your obedience. Your spirit has been restless because deep inside you know this season cannot continue. You know there are areas of your life that require surrender. You know there are decisions you have delayed because comfort felt easier than confrontation. But comfort will never produce the transformation required. For your calling, my child, faith was never meant to be something you speak about without action. True faith moves. True faith obeys. True faith steps forward even when the outcome cannot yet be seen. Many people say they trust me. But when the moment comes to act, fear becomes louder than obedience. They pray for miracles while refusing to take the steps I already instructed them to take. They ask for open doors while remaining seated in hesitation, waiting for certainty instead of trusting my voice. You have been taught to wait on me, but you must also understand that faith requires movement. Noah could not simply pray for safety. He had to build the ark before the rain appeared. Moses could not deliver Israel while hiding in fear. He had to stand before Pharaoh, despite feeling unqualified. Peter could not walk on water while remaining inside the boat. Every miracle you admire in Scripture began with someone choosing obedience before they saw the full picture. The enemy wants to convince you that action is dangerous. He fills your mind with questions, doubts, and worst-case scenarios because he knows movement breaks stagnation. He understands that once you begin walking in obedience, Chains begin to fall, confidence begins to grow, and purpose begins to awaken. Fear keeps asking, "What if you fail?" while faith declares, "What if God moves the moment you step forward?" Some of you are waiting for perfect conditions before obeying me. You want every answer before taking the first step. You want guaranteed success before trusting my instruction. But if you could see the entire path clearly, faith would no longer be required. Faith grows when you move despite uncertainty. Faith matures when obedience becomes greater than your fear. You keep asking me for strength while avoiding the situations that would develop it. You ask for courage while remaining hidden from the very opportunities that require boldness. You ask for breakthrough while refusing to leave behind the habits and environments that keep your spirit weak. But I tell you today, your next season cannot begin until you move beyond the excuses that have kept you trapped. Many times you believe prayer alone will change everything while ignoring the responsibility I placed in your hands. Prayer is powerful, but prayer without obedience becomes empty words. If I tell you to forgive, then forgiveness is your next step. If I tell you to leave a toxic environment, then leaving is your next step. If I tell you to begin again, then starting is your next step. Heaven responds to faith that acts. There are blessings connected to the version of you that finally obeys me completely. Not partially, not emotionally, completely. The breakthrough you seek often waits on the other side of one difficult decision you keep delaying. One act of surrender. One step of trust. One moment where you finally choose obedience over comfort. The reason your spirit feels restless is because deep inside you know what I have been asking of you. You know there are conversations you need to have, distractions you need to remove, and fears you need to confront. Yet every day you delay obedience, the battle within you grows heavier. Your spirit was never designed to live comfortably in disobedience. I have already placed within you what you need for this season. You are stronger than fear has convinced you. You are more capable than doubt has allowed you to believe. But until you move, you will continue standing at the edge of the very breakthrough I have been calling you toward, my child. There are some things you cannot carry into your next season. There are attachments, habits, and connections that once felt important to you, but now stand in the way of the purpose I am calling you toward. You keep asking why your spirit feels heavy, why your peace disappears so quickly, why your growth feels delayed, yet you continue holding on to things I have repeatedly told you to release. What you refuse to let go of will eventually become the weight that slows your destiny. Not every relationship in your life was sent to remain forever. Some people entered your journey for a season, not for a lifetime. But because your heart fears loneliness, you continue holding on to connections that drain your strength, weaken your focus, and pull you away from my presence. You have mistaken emotional attachment for spiritual alignment. Just because someone is familiar does not mean they are assigned to your future. There are people around you who celebrate your comfort, but become uncomfortable the moment you begin to grow. They supported the version of you that stayed silent, insecure, and spiritually asleep, but they resist the version of you that begins walking in authority and purpose. Not everyone can follow where I am leading you. Some will misunderstand your separation. Some will call your obedience pride. Some will walk away because your transformation exposes the areas they refuse to confront within themselves. You mourn what leaves your life without realizing, I am creating space for what belongs in your future. Every unhealthy attachment that breaks away creates room for healing, clarity, and spiritual growth. Yet many of my children remain trapped because they keep rebuilding connections I already removed. They reopen doors I closed. They return to environments I delivered them from. They revisit wounds that I was trying to heal, because familiarity feels safer than the unknown. You cannot heal while constantly returning to what broke you. You cannot step into freedom while entertaining the chains that once enslaved your spirit. There are conversations, addictions, toxic patterns, and secret compromises that must end if you truly desire transformation. You keep praying for peace while feeding the very chaos that steals it from you. You ask for clarity while surrounding yourself with voices that confuse your spirit and weaken your discernment. The enemy understands the power of unhealthy attachments. He knows distractions can quietly destroy purpose without you noticing. He knows delayed obedience often begins with emotional compromise. That is why he fights so hard to keep you connected to things that no longer align with your calling. Some relationships are assignments sent to drain your confidence, distort your identity, and delay your obedience. I know letting go feels painful. I know there are memories, emotions, and fears connected to the things you continue holding on to. But what I have prepared for you requires surrender. There are blessings waiting beyond your obedience, yet your hands remain too full of old burdens to receive them. Release is not loss when I am the one leading you away. Separation is not punishment when I am protecting your future. Your spirit has been restless because deep inside you know what no longer belongs in your life here. You know what continues pulling you backward. You know which environments weaken your discipline and silence your conviction. And still, I continue calling you higher because your next season cannot fully begin until you stop clinging to what I already commanded you to release, my child. There is power in obedience that you have not yet fully understood. Many people desire breakthrough, favor, healing, and elevation, but few are willing to walk the narrow path that leads to those things. They want promises without surrender, blessings without discipline, and purpose without sacrifice. But the doors I open through obedience cannot be unlocked through excuses, emotions, or partial commitment. There are breakthroughs connected to the version of you that finally says yes to me completely. Obedience is not always comfortable. Many times, it will require you to walk away from what feels familiar. It will require you to trust me when the path ahead makes no sense. It will require you to move while fear whispers that you are making a mistake. Yet, every step of obedience carries the potential to shift your entire life. One decision aligned with my will can break years of delay, confusion, and spiritual stagnation. You keep praying for clarity while ignoring the instructions I already gave you. You ask me to reveal the next chapter while refusing to obey in the current one. But greater direction is often released through present obedience. When you move according to what I have already spoken, the next step becomes clearer. Many of my children remain spiritually stuck because they continue waiting for new revelations while resisting the truth already placed within their hearts. The enemy fights obedience because he understands what happens when a child of God fully surrenders. Chains begin to break. Fear begins to lose its power. Confidence begins to rise. Purpose begins to awaken. He knows that delayed obedience can postpone blessings, opportunities, healing, and restoration. That is why he fills your mind with distraction, doubt, and endless excuses. He wants you trapped in hesitation, because hesitation keeps you from becoming dangerous to the darkness around you. Some of you have been living beneath your calling because you keep negotiating with conviction. I tell you to let something go, and you delay. I tell you to step forward, and you retreat into comfort. I tell you to trust me, and you continue leaning on your own understanding. Yet, deep inside, your spirit already knows that disobedience has been stealing your peace. The frustration, confusion, and heaviness you feel are often signs that your soul is resisting the direction I have been trying to lead you toward. Obedience is not weakness. Obedience is trust in action. It is choosing my voice over your fear, my wisdom over your emotions, and my direction over temporary comfort. Every person I used greatly throughout history had to pass through moments where obedience cost them something. Abraham had to leave what was familiar. Esther had to risk her comfort. Joshua had to move forward despite uncertainty. Their breakthrough came because they trusted me enough to act. You cannot carry old disobedience into a new season and expect peace to follow you there. Your next chapter requires surrender at a deeper level. There are areas of your life where I am asking for complete trust, not selective obedience. Because selective obedience is still resistance. You cannot follow me fully while holding on to hidden compromise. I have already placed the strength within you to obey. The fear telling you that you are incapable is not from me. You are not too weak to rise, too broken to change, or too late to begin again. But the breakthrough you desire is waiting on the other side of the obedience you keep postponing, my child. This is not the season to remain hidden in fear, regret, or hesitation. I am calling you to rise. For too long you have doubted yourself, questioned your worth, and allowed past failures to define the way you see your future. You have spent years shrinking your voice, suppressing your calling, and convincing yourself that you were unqualified for the very purpose I placed inside of you. But I did not create you to live beneath the level of authority, strength, and purpose that I placed upon your life. There is a calling resting over you that cannot remain buried forever. Deep within your spirit, you already feel it. You feel the pull towards something greater. You feel the discomfort every time you settle for less than what I designed you to become. The restlessness inside you is not random. It is the sound of destiny trying to awaken within your soul. You were never meant to remain trapped in cycles that keep your spirit small and your faith silent. The enemy has worked tirelessly to keep you distracted from your identity. He reminds you of your mistakes, your weaknesses, your disappointments, and the moments you failed. He wants shame to silence your confidence before purpose can fully emerge. He wants you convinced that your past disqualifies you from being used by me. But I do not define you by the worst moments of your life. I define you by the purpose I placed within you. Before fear ever touched your heart, you have survived battles that should have destroyed you. You endured nights of confusion, betrayal, loneliness, and silent tears that nobody else saw. Yet through every storm, my hand remained upon your life. The fact that you are still standing is proof that heaven has preserved you for a reason. There is strength inside of you that you have not yet fully recognized because pain caused you to forget who you are. I am calling you to stop speaking weakness over your future. Stop agreeing with the voices that tell you you are too late, too damaged, too insignificant, or too broken. Those lies were sent to keep you from stepping into your assignment. You cannot rise while constantly rehearsing the language of defeat. You cannot walk in authority while remaining emotionally chained to fear and insecurity. There are gifts within you waiting to be activated. There are lives connected to your obedience. There are doors waiting for the version of you that finally believes what I have spoken over your life. But you must stop waiting for permission from people who never understood your calling. You must stop seeking validation from environments that cannot recognize the oil upon your spirit. This is the hour to stand boldly. This is the hour to pray with authority, speak with conviction, and walk with confidence in who I created you to be. I am not asking you to rise because you are perfect. I am asking you to rise because my strength is greater than your weakness. My grace is sufficient for every area where you feel inadequate. The next chapter of your life requires courage. It requires faith that continues moving, even when the path is unclear. It requires surrender that trusts me beyond emotions and circumstances. You cannot continue living as the fearful version of yourself when I have called you to become a light in dark places, a voice in silent seasons, and a vessel through which my power can move across the lives of others.